Right now, astronauts orbiting Earth live in a vacuum, separated from death by a few inches of metal. They carry the title of space traveler proudly, yet they have never truly left the presence of our planet. They still reside within the human house, enjoying the invisible warmth of the walls. Earth's molten core generates a magnetic teardrop that reaches out into the black, catching the radiation that would otherwise cook a crew. If a bolt jams or a sensor drifts, a radio signal reaches a bustling mission control in under a second. The ground watches every valve and pressure reading in real time. If a filter clogs, a cargo ship brings a replacement within weeks. If the walls crack, there is a dedicated lifeboat attached to the station. An astronaut can strap in, undock, and sit in the Pacific Ocean in 3.5 hours. Help remains inbound at all times. At 400,000 kilometers away, you cross an invisible line where these safety nets begin to fray. Space grows terrifying because each threshold quietly removes another connection to the world that keeps you alive. Low Earth orbit serves as the highest room in humanity's house, the final address where the neighbors can still hear you shout. Leaving it means stepping away from our global life support system. The magnetic shelter thins once a spacecraft punches through the Dan Allen belts. Beyond these enormous regions of trapped radiation, the spacecraft itself must solve the problem of lethal cosmic rays. Survival shifts from a planetary protection to a matter of mass, shielding, and the luck of the solar cycle. Firing the engines for a deep space trajectory commits the crew to a path they cannot reverse. Physics makes turning around a month into the trip impossible. If an appendix bursts or an infection spreads, the astronauts must perform the treatment themselves, inside the cabin, with no hope of a hospital. The Apollo 13 crew survived because they had access to real-time consultation with the ground. With a delay of only a second, engineers in Houston could talk the astronauts through an improvised fix as the crisis developed. They were still part of the same team. At Mars, that lifeline snaps. A round-trip radio exchange can take 44 minutes. Mission control becomes a place that reads your history and answers into your future, but never catches up to your present. The crew must learn to trust their own judgment, because the ground is always nearly an hour too late. Pushing toward the inner planets severs the reach of Earth. The crew depends entirely on what they packed on launch day, existing within a closed system where no rescue can arrive. Jupiter marks a new level of isolation. This planet's magnetic field is 14 times the strength of Earth's, trapping particles into radiation belts thousands of times more energetic than the ones we left behind. Electronics must be encased in a centimeter of titanium just to function for a few years. The sun's light diminishes exponentially as you travel outward. At Jupiter, solar panels lose 96% of their power. The sun becomes a distant candle, providing no meaningful warmth to the vehicle and forcing a total reliance on internal energy sources. The crew must rely on the slowly decaying heat of onboard nuclear generators to keep liquids from freezing in the pitch black. Every joule of heat becomes precious as the vehicle radiates its warmth away into a sky that gives nothing back. At Saturn, communication delays stretch into hours. Hardware wear begins to pile up with no cargo ships inbound. A worn water recycling membrane might drop in efficiency from 90. The outer solar system kills through the slow, mathematical exhaustion of the systems keeping the crew alive. It is a relentless narrowing of the margins until the fuel or the filters eventually run dry. Far beyond the Kuiper Belt lies the heliopause, the limit of the solar wind's authority. The Voyager probes are the only human objects to cross this threshold, entering a region of space that has never been touched by our sun. Out here, the sun is just another star among many. It exerts no special authority over the local environment. It is the one star everyone you've ever known was born beneath. But from this vantage, it is simply a member of a crowd. Reversing course from this velocity would require more fuel than any modern propulsion system can carry. The trajectory becomes permanent. A crew crossing the heliopause enters a region from which no return is technologically possible. This is the one-way passage into silence. There is no destination ahead, and the communication delay has stretched into days. Both ends of the correspondence are essentially writing to strangers. This journey reveals that space contains no hidden monsters at the edge of the map. The vacuum and the gravity follow the same rules we know at home. The terror of the outward journey stems from the progressive, permanent removal of every relationship between the traveler and the world that made them. The shelters we rely on simply fall away, one by one. Our survival depends entirely on a microscopic, fragile environment that we take for granted. We are built for this world, and it provides for us with a generosity we can only measure by leaving it. Space is horrifying because it forces us to look back across the void and recognize the rarity of the protective embrace our home planet provides. The further we travel, the more we realize how much Earth was doing for us all along.